Ever have any desire to meet them?
Yeah, of course. But we knew that Aunt May did not want to have contact, with them. So we just kept it as it was.
Because this is not a thing that my family ever talked about. I didn't even know there was a thing called white passing, and she's saying transitioning. But in the Black community, they're like, oh yeah, and everyone has a story.
I mean, she know the deal. She just didn't want everybody else to know.
Hi everyone, Danielle Romero here. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel where we talk about American identity and family stories. And today I want to react to a show that so many people have told me about. And if you're brand new to my channel, I started this channel about 1.5 years ago, tracing my great-grandmother's story through Louisiana, where some people say she was passé blanc, passed for white. And there's a lot of emotions around those terms. And so Robin Cloud, I guess, did a similar thing where she was kind of on the other end of the experience. She was going to find the line in her family that had passed for white in Nebraska. And so I would love to talk to Robin at some point, but I want to watch this series first. So I think I'm going to do this just episode by episode and watch it together. And there are parts that I'm going to have to cut out because if there's music that she uses, YouTube will flag me for that. I can't have, if I don't have a license for certain music. So it'll definitely be cut up a little bit, but I'm looking forward to doing that with you. And if you haven't seen, or you weren't with us on May 18th, today's May 19th. So whenever I put this video out, my husband and I did our first live stream here, and I answered your questions. I responded to comments. It was really fun. I was so nervous. But if you want to watch it and then go watch the chat replay, I think we're going to do it again when we hit 100,000 subscribers on here, which is it's so crazy to even say that. So let's just jump right in and go watch the first episode. I think it's like 7 or 8 minutes, so it won't be too long. And let me know if you've seen it. And I'm just going to react to it. And we'll just, we'll see how it goes. So let's jump over there.
Dee Dee?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going.
Okay.
You know the albums that I was looking for are the ones that she had that were like the 80s family reunion albums.
Okay.
Because I feel like some of the cousins were in those pictures, the Nebraska cousins.
Passing isn't anything new. Black folks that could have been passing for white for years. Whether it was escape from slavery or secure jobs and housing, the decision came with serious consequences. Once you decided to pass, that meant leaving your Black family behind, living in isolation, and most of all, lying to your children.
I already tell I'm going to get super emotional here again, which is weird in some ways because I wasn't directly lied to. This would be much more along the lines of what happened to my grandmother, what happened to my mother. I think my grandmother knew more than she let on based on the things that she told me later in life, and I've covered that here when she let me give her a DNA test. But my mom was super close with her grandmother, Lola. That was literally the only grandparent experience she had, that she would stay over there. And I've asked her later in life, I'm like, Mom, didn't you wonder about your gram, like where she was from or her stuff? And she just said no. Like, she said she was French. And I don't know, you realize there's a lot of complexity, whether or not you believe someone can actually pass for white or not. The complexity of keeping up a facade of the family story, that can happen across all color lines and all ethnicities. And lies beget more lies, right?
Reunion.
Oh
the first one. Becky Jo Elster, who is my cousin, her mother is my grandmother's first cousin. Her name is Willa Mae, and my grandmother's name May Dell. And they're both raised in Somerton, South Carolina. There's Eva right there.
That's Willa Mae's sister, Eva Burgess. My mother, Maydell. Her oldest sister, Margaret. Theola, who we call T. And her sister, Blanche.
God, I just want to find one picture with Willa Mae in it.
Well, I think with all the DNA and Ancestry.com, you're able to do more research because years ago, nobody knew how to find them.
It's so true. I started digging into this stuff when I was 16. I'm 38 now. But as more things, people have become more interconnected, it's harder to hide this stuff, and stuff's coming out. And I think that's why there has been, in my opinion, such a huge resurgence of people digging into the family story, wanting to preserve it, because we have access to things that, you know, our grandparents, our great grandparents did not think could ever be accessed again. And here we are, like, blowing the lid off the thing.
And they felt like it was their secret. And the cousins, my mother's generation, didn't want to, you know, violate her trust or whatever life she'd built out there.
Right.
So they just left her alone, which was sad.
Parnell was so handsome.
Oh, yeah, he was good looking. Well, that's a trademark of the men in the family. They're all good looking. The women are smart and the men are good looking.
So wait, so what are you saying? We're not good looking?
No, we're good looking and smart.
My parents got married. What year was this, Mom?
Yeah.
68?
1967.
67.
Look how I fattened them up over the years.
Job well done. I grew up with such an intense family connection, both my mom and my dad's side, that like going to family reunion every year and having so many relationships with my extended cousins, that it seemed like weird to grow up and be like, I have no idea who my family is. And I mean, we'll find out what it's like, what it feels like to all of a sudden be like, okay, I've been living my life as a white person. I think Becky is like 66 years old. So now all of a sudden she's technically African American.
So I know some of the comments that I'll get, and they're ones that I've had to work through of, well, isn't this just the one drop rule in reverse, where we're saying if someone sees themselves as white or whatever that means to that person, how can we say, well, you're actually black and you didn't know it? But I think that there's more nuance to that. And I can tell you at least my perspective on that. It's not that I necessarily feel like now I'm looking at my grandmother saying, well, I thought she was white when I was a kid. Now I think she's black. I actually didn't see her that way. I didn't see her as white or black. She was just my Grammy. But having African ancestry in the United States, if it's from 4, 5, 6 generations ago, we can make a good guess that has a connection to slavery. That doesn't mean that every single time someone has African ancestry, it's a surprise. It is, but when we're talking about especially the U.S. South, Robin's family, where she's talking about where they're from in Somerton, where my family is from in Louisiana, we have to look at the history. We have to look at, where did this come from? Why are people handling it this way? And it's not so much, I think, to tell people now you need to be black. I think it's to say, hey, do you know where the family comes from? Do you know our family's story? And I think that is something we all need to wrestle with. We may not accept it. We may not like it. Maybe we embrace it. But I think having the knowledge is important, and we can't control what people do with that, though, right? All right, so I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to play because it says jazzy music. But she's going to visit some cousins, and she's going to bring pictures and kind of say, do you remember this side of the family? Remember, they're getting ready to contact this side of the family, and they're going to sit down and look at the family photo albums.
The women in our family live a long time. How about that?
Here's Becky Joe and her mom, so that's Willa Mae.
Oh, Willa Mae.
Yeah,
That's
your
her.
aunt, right?
Yep,
Your
her auntie.
Your
Right.
auntie. So here's an old photo. You might remember Mae.
No, I never had a picture of Johnny.
Wow.
That's Johnny.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
That's crazy.
Do you think they were passing when they were living in New York?
Johnny couldn't find a job. He was a college graduate, and, you know, blacks couldn't hardly get it back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to move to Omaha, and I think that's when they transitioned, yes.
Okay, y'all, if you guys have been on here, you know, I'm like, okay, there's certain things, immediate crying. And it's not because I feel bad for myself. It's because a lot of times people will say, this is history, move on from it, victim Olympics, blah, blah, blah. That's not what this is. For my family. This is impacting me here in 2024. If I hadn't been able to reconnect, I wouldn't know anything about where my mom's family came from on that side, I would know nothing. And I think it's a terrible thing to not know your heritage, to not know your ancestry if you want to know it. And the way that they're talking about it, it's just so amazing to me, because this is not a thing that my family ever talked about. I didn't even know there was a thing called white passing, and she's saying transitioning. But in the Black community, they're like, oh yeah. And everyone has a story of someone that left. And here they're saying that people, they couldn't find a job. My Aunt Kathleen, it's amazing. Love you, Aunt Kathleen. She talked with me so much for the series. And she also did talks with me for a video just kind of reflecting on this information. If you want to watch that, it's in the Finding Lola playlist. But something she told me on the phone, and I didn't include it in this series, was that when Lola was leaving Louisiana with her Irish husband, so they got married in the 30s, they had one kid, so my Grammy's oldest brother was born, and they were moving to Louisiana, and they were moving to New York from Louisiana. And my great-grandpa, John Donnelly, her name was Lola. Actually, her real name is Lotus Scar, which is a total, I want to go down that rabbit trail, but people called her Lola. They decided, he told her, he really thought you should change your name to Louise when we're up in New York, because I can't remember the exact words, but it was just it's less ethnic. We need to get you accepted, because you remember, this is the 30s. It doesn't matter if it's New York. I think sometimes we have this idea, at least as a New Yorker, that the South was so racist and the North was just a bastion of acceptance. And it wasn't as bad on the surface, I think, as the South. But I mean, so my mom knew her as Louise, and that's not her name. But that's part of this transformation.
His mother's name was Miss Parker, and I remember her seeing behind the counter.
And she was Black, right?
Yeah, but she, they all looked white.
Right. I mean, he looks so Black here. That's the thing that gets me.
Yes,
God,
I know.
doesn't he just look like a light-skinned Black dude just chilling?
Yeah. Here's May.
There she goes. I mean, she know the deal. She just didn't want everybody else to know.
I mean, I understand, but once your husband died, you think you could have said something?
Yeah, but that was how many kids later? You gonna tell them that now?
The
Some of
whole
the kids
new.
kind of were a little giveaway-ish.
Well, yeah, there's some. Yeah.
Look at those
Yes.
afros. Okay.
Man, I never saw a picture like that before. The hair was always straight. That's
Their
hilarious.
parents told them they were Italian.
Italian, huh?
This is them older.
None of them look the same. I can't even tell
No.
who's who.
No.
No one's married any Black people to
No, that's
to
not
infuse
happening. Not from Omaha.
Did you ever have any desire to meet them?
Yeah, of course. But, we knew that Aunt May did not want to have contact, with them. So we just kept it as it was.
What can you do, man?
And that's the end of the first episode. So, wow. I thought it was going to be short, and actually I feel like it was just jam-packed with emotion. And seeing the other side, this is incredible. It's incredible. It's kind of horrifying to see, again, these things aren't happening in a vacuum. It's affecting everybody. She's there saying, yeah, she would have loved to have met her other cousins, but she didn't feel like she could reach out. I mean, here's the thing. Wherever you're at with the dynamics between Black people and white people here in 2024, we have to look at this in the eye and say, right now, there are people who feel like they can't contact their family. They can't get to know their family, or they have, and they've been rejected because of this dynamic. This is still happening. This is happening right now. I think that's important to wrestle with. I don't think we should be putting the racial division on a platform and saying this is everything that America is. No, I don't think that. But when so many people are still dealing with the effects of this stuff, I think ignoring it is being really disingenuous. And wow, this is really powerful. I would love to talk to Robin. So we're going to just keep doing this. I'm going to do these probably like once a week, throw one of these in with another video. If you like it, let me know. And if you want to check out the live stream I did with my husband, I will link to it below, or you can just go to my channel and go to the live part, and that's the only live stream there. And yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk soon.